My name is Clara Munroe, and I was 16 years old when I realized that being good at disappearing doesn't mean you're actually seen. I wasn't the kind of daughter who caused problems. I didn't slam doors or skip curfew or make my parents worry. That was Natalie's job. My older sister had a gift for turning minor inconveniences into full-scale family emergencies. A bad grade became a crisis. A breakup required a week of emotional support shifts. She commanded attention the way some people command a room, loudly, urgently, and without apology. My younger brother didn't need drama to get what he wanted. He just existed, and that was enough. He was the baby, the boy, the one who got away with forgotten chores and half-hearted excuses because, well, that's just how he was. And then there was me. I was the one who remembered to pick up milk on the way home. I was the one who knew everyone's birthday without needing a reminder. I made sure the house didn't fall apart when Mom was stressed, and I never asked for much in return. I didn't think I needed to. I thought being helpful was the same as being important. I thought if I kept things running smoothly, I'd earned my place. My family wasn't cold. We weren't broken, at least not in any obvious way. We had dinners together most nights. We celebrated holidays. We took photos that looked warm and whole. I believed we were close. I believed I mattered. Looking back, I see it differently now. I wasn't valued for who I was. I was valued for what I did. And the moment I stopped being useful in the way they wanted, I learned exactly how much space I actually took up. None. It started with champagne at dinner. My parents clinked glasses and announced they were planning something big, a family reunion to celebrate their 25th wedding anniversary. Not just immediate family, the whole extended network. Aunts, uncles, cousins we hadn't seen in years. They'd already booked a venue, hired a professional photographer. It was going to be the kind of event people talked about for years. I felt a flutter of excitement I didn't expect. We didn't do things like this often. It felt special, important. I could help with decorations, I offered, leaning forward, or put together a slideshow. I have all those old photos on my laptop. My mom smiled at me, the kind of smile that should have felt warm, but somehow didn't reach all the way. That's sweet, Claire, but we've got it handled, okay? I nodded. I didn't push. I figured she had everything under control. That was her way, meticulous, organized, a little controlling, but in a way that made things beautiful. Natalie immediately started talking about what she'd wear. My brother asked if there'd be an open bar. Everyone laughed. I sat back and listened, imagining what it would be like. All of us, together, a real celebration. I didn't notice the way my mom's eyes skipped over me when she listed who'd be sitting where. I didn't notice that when she talked about the photographer's shot list, she mentioned Natalie twice and my brother once. She didn't mention me at all. But I didn't notice. Not yet. I still thought I was part of it. 2 weeks before the reunion, I was in my room doing homework when I heard my mom on the phone in the hallway. She was confirming final guest counts with someone. Maybe the venue, maybe the caterer. I wasn't really listening at first, just background noise. Then I heard her rattling off names. Natalie, yes, and Jacob, my sister and her husband, their 3 kids, my brother's flying in from Boston with his wife, oh, and Tom's parents, of course. She kept going. Aunts, uncles, cousins I barely remembered. She listed them all with the kind of precision she used when she was organizing something important. I waited to hear my name. She never said it. I told myself I was being paranoid. Maybe she just didn't mention me because I was obvious. I lived here. Of course I'd be there. But something felt wrong. That night, I saw the group chat. It was called Anniversary Reunion Planning. There were 15 people in it. My parents. Natalie, Jacob, aunts, uncles, cousins. I wasn't in it. I scrolled through the messages. They'd been talking for days. Seating arrangements, color coordination for photos, timeline for the day. Someone asked if they should all wear navy or keep it flexible. My mom sent a Pinterest board. Then I saw it. My mom had written, "Claire's been busy with school stuff anyway. She probably wouldn't want to come." No question mark, no follow-up, just a statement. And no one responded. No one said, "Wait, did you ask her?" No one said, "That doesn't sound right." They just kept planning. I stared at my phone, reading the message over and over, like maybe I'd misunderstood, like maybe the words would rearrange themselves into something that made sense, but they didn't. I felt something cold and hollow settle in my chest. Not anger, not yet, just disbelief. They weren't excluding me out of cruelty, they were excluding me out of indifference. I didn't confront anyone. I didn't ask why. I just closed the chat and sat there in the silence of my room, trying to convince myself this was all some kind of misunderstanding. It wasn't. I spent the next few days replaying every family interaction I could remember, searching for the moment I became forgettable. Was I too quiet? Too agreeable? Had I said something wrong without realizing it? I thought about all the times they went out to dinner and I stayed home because I had homework. All the times I said, "I'm fine," when no one bothered to ask how I actually was. All the times I faded into the background because it seemed easier than demanding space. Maybe I'd done this to myself. Maybe I'd been so good at not needing attention that they stopped thinking I wanted any. I didn't tell anyone what I'd learned. Not my best friend, not even myself, really. I just carried it quietly, the way I carried everything else. I watched. I watched Natalie try on 3 different dresses, posting each one on Instagram with captions like, "Big day coming," and "Family means everything." The comments poured in. She glowed under the attention. I watched my brother joke with my dad about sneaking drinks from the open bar. They laughed like it was the funniest thing in the world. I watched my parents finalize seating charts at the kitchen table, debating whether to put certain cousins together or keep them apart. My mom was in her element, controlling, precise, happy. I sat at the same table, eating dinner with them, and my name didn't come up once. Not once. It was like I wasn't even there, and maybe in their minds, I wasn't. The hurt I'd felt at first, that cold, hollow shock, started to harden into something sharper. Not rage, I didn't have the energy for rage, but clarity. This wasn't an accident. They didn't forget to include me. Forgetting would mean I'd crossed their mind at some point. This was different. This was worse. They looked at the event, at the people who mattered enough to invite, and they decided I didn't make the list. Not because I'd done something wrong, because I'd never done enough to make them think twice. I'd been so busy being easy, being low maintenance, being the one who didn't need anything, that I'd convinced them I didn't exist in any way that mattered. And maybe I didn't, not to them, but I was starting to matter to myself, and that changed everything. I made a choice. I wasn't going to ask why. I wasn't going to beg to be included. I wasn't going to cry in front of them or demand an explanation they'd never give honestly anyway. I was just going to let it happen. If they didn't want me there, fine. I wouldn't force it, but I also wasn't going to pretend everything was okay afterward. I started pulling back. Not dramatically, not in a way anyone would notice right away. I just stopped performing the role I'd been playing for 16 years. I stopped offering to help around the house. When my mom asked me to pick something up from the store, I said I had plans. When family conversations happened at dinner, I stayed quiet. Not sulking, just not participating. My mom noticed eventually. She asked if I was okay. "Yeah," I said, "just tired." She accepted that. She always accepted easy answers. The week of the reunion, I told my parents I was going to spend the weekend at my friend Jenna's house. My mom was at the kitchen table, surrounded by printouts and sticky notes, color-coding something I wasn't part of. She barely looked up. "Okay, have fun," she said. That was it. No follow-up questions, no disappointment. She was too distracted by seating charts and timelines to care where I'd be. My dad nodded from across the room. Natalie didn't even register it. My brother was on his phone. I packed my bag the night before. I didn't pack much. I didn't need to. I wasn't running away. I was just leaving space for them to have exactly what they wanted. A family event without me. The morning of the reunion, I walked out the front door while everyone was still getting ready. I heard my mom yelling at Natalie about her shoes. I heard my brother blasting music from his room. No one noticed me leave. No dramatics, no slammed doors, no goodbye, just absence. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was making a choice that was actually mine. The venue was beautiful. White linen tablecloths, soft string lights draped overhead, a floral arch at the center of the room where the photographer had set up her equipment. Everyone arrived dressed in coordinated shades of navy and cream, exactly like my mom had planned. She was in her element, floating between tables, adjusting centerpieces, making sure every detail was perfect. Natalie was already posing for pre-event selfies with cousins, her dress catching the light just right. My brother stood near the bar, joking with an uncle about something I'm sure wasn't funny. Everything was going exactly as planned. The photographer arrived early, professional and efficient. She moved through the space with quiet authority, checking angles, adjusting lights. Then she turned to my mom. "Okay, where do you want to start? Full family portrait?" My mom's face lit up. This was the moment she'd been planning for weeks. "Yes, let's do that first," she said, clapping her hands to get everyone's attention. "Everyone gather up front by the arch." Aunts, uncles, grandparents, cousins, they all moved into position. My mom directed them like a conductor, placing people just so, tall ones in the back, kids in the front, Natalie center left because she photographed well. The photographer stepped back, scanning the group. She counted heads quietly, then paused. She pulled out a folded piece of paper, her shot list, the one my mom had sent weeks ago. She frowned. "Wait," she said, looking up. "Your daughter, Claire, where is she?" There was a beat of silence. My mom blinked, like she'd been asked a question in a language she didn't quite understand. "Oh," she said, her voice a little too light. "She couldn't make it." The photographer's frown deepened. She glanced down at the paper again. "But she's on the list," she said slowly. "You sent me her name specifically for the formal family portrait." My mom opened her mouth, closed it. Her smile faltered. Natalie shifted uncomfortably, looking down at her shoes. And then, from somewhere in the crowd, one of my aunts spoke up. "Wait," she said, "Claire's not here?" The question hung in the air. The mood shifted, not loudly, not dramatically, but it shifted, and my mom had no answer. The photographer didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. "I can't shoot a complete family portrait if someone's missing. That's not how this works." My mom let out a nervous laugh, the kind she used when she was trying to smooth over something awkward. "We'll just do it without her," she said, waving a hand dismissively. "It's fine." The photographer shook her head. "You paid for a full family session," she said, gesturing to the shot list. "She's listed here. If she's not in the photos, they won't be complete. That's what you contracted me for." My mom's smile tightened. She wasn't used to people not bending to her will. Other family members were starting to murmur now. My aunt, the one who'd spoken up earlier, stepped forward. "Why isn't Claire here? Did something happen?" Another cousin chimed in. "I thought this was a family thing." My dad, who was been standing off to the side, finally looked at my mom. There was something in his expression I couldn't have named if I'd been there to see it. Confusion, maybe? Or the first flicker of realization. "You told her about this, right?" he asked quietly. My mom stammered. I thought she's been so busy with school, and..." Natalie cut in, defensive. "She never said she wanted to come." An uncle I barely knew raised his eyebrows. "Did anyone ask her?" The silence that followed was deafening. No one had an answer. The photographer started packing up her equipment, not angrily, not dramatically, just methodically, like someone who'd been in enough awkward family situations to know when to step back. "I'll come back when everyone's here," she said evenly. "Just let me know." And then she left. The event continued, but something had shifted. People were distracted. Conversations that should have felt celebratory felt strained instead. Laughter didn't land the way it should have. My absence, something no one had thought about before, was suddenly the loudest thing in the room. My mom disappeared for a few minutes. When she came back, her phone was in her hand. She'd called me. I was at Jenna's house when I felt my phone buzz. I looked at the screen. Mom. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I set it back down. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. They'd made their choice. Now I was making mine. And for once, my silence said everything I didn't need to. I spent the weekend at Jenna's house doing nothing important. We watched movies we'd already seen, baked cookies that turned out lopsided, talked about school and summer plans and which songs were overplayed on the radio. Normal things, easy things. Jenna didn't ask why I was there. She didn't pry or push. She just made space for me, the way good friends do when they know something's wrong but also know you're not ready to talk about it yet. My phone buzzed constantly. Texts from my mom, a voicemail from my dad, a long, rambling apology text from Natalie that started with, "I didn't realize," and ended with, "Please don't be mad." I read them all. I didn't reply. I wasn't hiding. I wasn't punishing them either. I was just distant. For the first time in my life, I had space to think without their voices filling it. And I realized something. I didn't owe them my pain. I didn't owe them an explanation or forgiveness or reassurance that everything was fine. They'd made a choice. Now I was making mine. On Sunday, I went home. The house was quiet when I walked in. Too quiet. My mom was in the kitchen, her eyes red-rimmed like she'd been crying. "Claire," she said, her voice tight, "we need to talk." I set my bag down by the door. "Okay." She started talking, explaining, justifying, apologizing in that way people do when they're more upset about being caught than about what they actually did. She said she didn't mean to exclude me. She said I thought I wouldn't want to come. She said she was overwhelmed and didn't think it through. I listened. When she finished, I just nodded. "I understand," I said. That was it. No yelling, no tears, no breakdown. Just 2 words. And somehow that was worse than anything else I could have said. Things changed after that weekend. My family tried to overcompensate in all the ways people do when they realize they've hurt someone but don't know how to fix it. My mom started inviting me to everything: coffee runs, grocery trips, even just sitting with her while she watched TV. She'd ask with a brightness that felt forced, like she was trying to prove something. Natalie suddenly wanted to hang out. She'd knock on my door, suggest we watch a movie or get our nails done. It was awkward. We both knew it. My dad tried to have bonding time. He asked if I wanted to go for drives or grab dinner, just the 2 of us. His voice was careful, like he was worried I'd say no. I didn't say no. I said yes to most of it. I was polite. I was present. But I wasn't the same. I didn't volunteer to help anymore. I didn't offer solutions or fill silences or smooth over uncomfortable moments. I didn't try to make anyone feel better about themselves. I just existed in the space they'd finally made for me, and I didn't give anything extra. When they rescheduled the family photos and insisted I be there, I showed up. I wore what they asked me to wear. I stood where they told me to stand. I smiled when the photographer said to smile. But afterward, when everyone gathered for cake and champagne, I left early. No excuses, no explanation. I just picked up my jacket and walked out. My mom called after me. "Claire, where are you going?" "Home," I said. "I'm tired." The photographer noticed. Before I reached the door, she caught up to me, her camera bag slung over her shoulder. "Hey," she said quietly so no one else could hear. "I'm sorry that happened. At the first session, I mean." I looked at her. She seemed genuine, like she actually cared. I smiled, not bitterly, just calmly. "It's okay," I said. "I know where I stand now." She nodded, like she understood exactly what I meant. I walked out into the cool evening air, and I didn't look back. Inside, my family stayed. They ate cake. They took more pictures. They celebrated. But they felt it. The loss of my warmth, my effort, the space I used to fill without anyone noticing. They didn't realize how much I'd been holding together until I stopped holding anything at all. And I wasn't coming back, not the way I used to be. Months later, I walked past the family portrait hanging in the living room. There I was, front row, smiling, surrounded by aunts and uncles and cousins and my parents and Natalie and my brother. We looked like the kind of family people envied. But I knew the truth. That photo only existed because someone outside the family, a stranger with a shot list and professional boundaries, demanded I be there. Not because they wanted me, because they were told it wasn't complete without me. I didn't feel bitter anymore. I didn't feel angry either. I just felt clear. I'd learned something that took 16 years to understand. Being needed and being valued aren't the same thing. I still loved my family. That didn't go away. Love doesn't work like that, no matter how much easier it would be if it did. But I loved myself more now. I didn't wait for invitations anymore. I didn't shrink myself to fit their expectations or apologize for taking up space. I stopped performing the role of the easy daughter, the helpful one, the one who never asked for anything. When they asked why I was different, I didn't explain. I just said, I'm fine. And I was. I didn't destroy my family. I didn't cut them off or make a scene or demand they acknowledge what they'd done. I just stopped pretending they hadn't hurt me. I stopped pretending their love was unconditional when it had always come with terms I didn't agree to. And that was enough. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need an apology that meant something. I just needed to know that I mattered to myself, even if I didn't matter to them the way I once thought I did. That was peace. And peace, I learned, is so much better than being right.